Now we change. You know the legend of Clark Kent and Superman? Okay, so
You also wear your underwear over your pants.
Superman.
Super Kranevo.
You know the joke. It was two superheroes that fought. Who is strongest, and the loser had to wear the underwear over the pants for the rest of his life, and that was Superman. We don't know who is the other one.
What a faith. Thank you very much for the invitation to all of you, especially you, my friend. This is my first time in Bulgaria. It's a big pleasure and honor to be here and part of the Bulgarian revival of traditional archery. So I know that it's still on baby steps, but you came quite far. It can be seen. Very good scores yesterday in the competition. And I tried to figure out what kind of missing points there are in your revival movement. So, and Boyan and the other friends that whom I talked to, they said that the technical aspects are not very clear because you just collected information in an unsystematic way, let's say, because I saw people having Korean bows, people heard something about Turkish archery, people heard about Korean archery. So I have been working quite hard and intensively to revive the Turkish archery in the last 20-something years, and I think, okay, forgot it, go ahead.
Така,
I've been working on traditional archery. We are reading the old treatises, field testing the information that comes from the treatises, because the style of writing of the old scholars was not the same that the scholars of modern times have.
значи той работи по документи, които са намерени и процесът общо заето е, чете се документа и се тества практически. И казва, имаше голямо предизвикателство, защото езика и начина на писане преди е много различен от модерния. Нали? Трябва първо да си го преведем на модерен език и после да го направим реално приложимо на практика.
You see how he holds the arrow and how loose it is. And the bow and arrow was not used only in long distance fighting. It was used in close quarter fighting as well.
Лъкови стрели са използвани не само в битки надалече, ами и в реален екшън на близки разстояния.
For example, in a record about the death of Alparslan, the Selçuklu Sultan, to stab, which shows that the shot was from a very close distance.
Значи, султана не му чуха името, някой от султаните.
And the Sultan was very bad archer.
No, in fact, the opposite. All the Selçuklu sources say that he was a brilliant archer who never missed. But in this case, he missed. So, which means that all good archers have the right to miss.
I know, I saw it yesterday on my page.
There are always excuses in the old historical scripts, right?
Luckily, we are still alive.
From the quiver that way, so that even if I am interrupted in the middle of the technique, I can resist the opponent that way while I am holding the arrow quite firmly, not like that, and use it for stabbing, as you say, or hitting the enemy like that. And even during the knocking procedure, when I hold it like that, he cannot take it from my hand, and I still can use it for stabbing. And here, even at this stage, if I am interrupted, no problem. And even at this stage, I have always two-point contact with the arrow, and this is the way that we are developing our methods under Kranevo by using rational thinking and historical records like that of Alparslan's death.
Начинът по който той преподава и учи в областта Риндас е базиран точно на тези исторически източници.
Like, for example, lowering the bow like that, holding the arrow like this, and like that, they don't fit the battlefield.
Някои от техниките, които той сега показва, които са станали практика в модерната стрелба, те изобщо не са приложими на бойното поле. И исторически не са обективни.
Let me give you another example. When I lower the bow like that, he can easily control me because my shoulder muscles are not that strong. But if I hold the ball like that during all the knocking procedure, he cannot even approach me. And even if he does, he cannot take my arrow and I can't stab him. And because I have such an arm position, I can use all my body weight instead of just shoulder. So these kind of little things are or can be understood only with field trials and errors and rational thinking, how they must have done this. The lower chest level, holding the arrow like this, even in the old style quivers, like in Selçukyan era, for example, where the arrows were held like this in the quiver. Even in this condition, you can hold it that firmly and knock it that way, again with always 2-point contact, and that the enemy cannot take your weapon away.
Даже казвам в селджукските учани, където са стояли с перата надолу, пак логиката е същата, нали ти да...
Away from the enemy, because you try to reach my arrow, but here, that way, you can, I can use it for stepping.
С такъв колчан, всъщност дали са ти далеч.
Part which we are also sensitive about teaching, so we don't let the students or the members of Tirandas lower the ball like that, or holding the arrow like this, whatever, or knocking it like that. It makes you quite vulnerable. And if it comes to some, let's say, modern variations of fast shooting, in videos you may have seen, they do it like that, for example. This is also bad unless you have a shield. If you have a shield, it makes sense. But if you don't have a shield, again, you're completely open to the opponent. He can grab you, hit you, push you, whatever. So that's why you have to hold the weapon here and use always a two-hand contact with the arrow. So even when I'm intercepted here, I can stab. When I'm intercepted here, I can stab. So it is impossible for the enemy to come and take my weapon away, and which we know, at least from that record of Alparslan, that shots were executed from closer distances as well.
No.
When it comes to shooting, there are some very clear descriptions in all treatises, and there are a lot of very blurry descriptions. So some parts of the technique should be harvested by using rationalization and field research. Some other parts are clear.
Някои от тия източници са много подробни и всичко е ясно, обаче други не са чак толкова. Единственият начин да го възстановим е с логично мислене и повече дълбаене в посоката.
For example, for the gripping of the bow, there are very blurry records. There are 5 different gripping techniques, 4 different gripping techniques in another book. And another book says one of those 6 gripping techniques is only for angels. What we know is for certain because all the treatises mentions this.
Което е сигурно обаче и във всичките документи го има, че тия трите пръста всъщност държат здраво лъка, а другите двата са свободни, има различни вариации. Но трите пръста стискат, докато тия двата са свободни.
And again, because most of you switched from 3-finger release, and in 3-finger release, especially with modern balls, the ball is pushed from behind like that. People tend to use like that or that, whatever. But these 3 fingers should hold it firmly, and these 2 should be firm. This is the rule of thumb, let's say. It's also mentioned that mahn, it's an Arabic word, which is the middle line at the back of the ball grip here. It's called mahn. The adjunction of the palm and fingers should be placed there. So which means it refers to an offset grip rather than a grip method. Mahn is that. Mahn. It's an Arabic word. And the line between the fingers and the palm should be placed here. So
И линията всъщност тук,
not like that.
на зорите редостта, трябва да бъде точно на тая линия.
So this is quite important because we will be talking about Hatra, which I know you are curious about what kind of thing this Hatra is. I have been making many videos about that. It's one of the most complicated part of it that controls the arrow's ballistic
Това е много важен момент, когато се изпълнява.
The grip that makes the ball move to be released without your conscious effort.
Това не е твое целенасочено движение, а всъщност ти така трябва да държиш лъка.
As it is mentioned, this method and this line between the
Хванал, нали, точно по този начин, ръба на дръжката да бъде на твоята линия на кончето.
when you have a triangular gap here between the string and your forearm, like that.
Ако имаш този триъгълник тук,
Compared to the other type of grip, when you push the ball from behind, there's no triangular gap between the string and the ball head.
ако натискаш отзад, няма го този триъгълник.
In such a grip, the natural movement of the ball would be this.
Тогава естественото движение на лъка е ето това.
But if you place your hand like that
Ако обаче сложиш ръката с...
and align your wrist during release, that the movement should be like that. And this
Тогава
is
лъка прави това завъртване. Катрата става естествено от самата гравитация и движение.
not only gravitation, but also the torque. The torque. Arrow's flight was detected with the help of the sensors in there.
И полета на стрелата през цялото време се следи от датчици. Нали? Имаме го.
There were sensors here, here, and here,
Има сензори на самата стрела.
so we could figure out both mathematically and graphically how the arrow flies when you do this Hatra and this Hatra.
Така че графически и математически също се документират полета на стрелата, като стреляш по един и по другия начин.
Therefore, a Hatra is a must. So shooting without a Hatra is possible just because the fletching corrects the after approximately 7-8 meters, the drag at the rear of the arrow just corrects the oscillation.
На практика е възможно да стреля и без катра, защото след 10 метра тия естествено движение на стрелата,
Had been stored in the ball was transferred to the arrow with minimal losses just because when the oscillation is low, then the kinetic energy is maintained on the arrow, not only as for the amount of the kinetic energy, but also as for the vectoral distribution.
но когато се прави катра, най-важният аргумент е, че цялата кинетична енергия на лъка се трансферира в стрелата с минимални загуби.
Advocates drawing of the arrow, which is a common mistake nowadays, especially among the mounted archers, as we discussed with Nina yesterday.
В мамелютките и в няколко документи е описано дърпане.
Example from myself, I'm practicing jiu-jitsu as well, and my Turkish jaw is 74 something centimeters. My Japanese jaw is 95 centimeters. Okay, close to 1 meter.
За японците да пример, we have Japanese archers not 20.
Shooting with Turkish style, if you're shooting with Korean style, the jaw is a little bit lower and farther back. So here in the Turkish jaw, here in the Korean jaw.
Така че този нимкеш полуопъването е абсолютно забранено. Ако стреляш с турски дърпане до ухото, а пък корейското е малко по-ниско, но по-отдадено.
So there is a video which will be recently released. I will show you today as well. In fast shooting, when we are shooting the arrows fast one after another, like this, there's a trick in using your shoulder, which looks as if you don't come your very low, but actually we do. This jerking at the end of the jaw brings the arrow to the very same jaw length, but you're not on your earlobe, but somewhere here. But it's the same jaw length. So the name cache should be avoided completely, even if you're shooting fast.
При бърза стрелба, той каза скоро пуснах точно такова видео, има техника, която е използваш рамото си в последния момент и изглежда, че не дърпаш до край, но всъщност дърпаш до край всеки път.
I come on my full jaw, at my full jaw, in a stationary position, and then we took a video when I shot fast,
Yes, sir.
and you saw it, right? My hand looked here, but the arrow is on the very same spot, even a little bit longer. No details, all treatises because there are a lot of treatises, despite the fact that some details are blurry. One of the clear parts is, again, there are two ways of drawing when you come here. Two ways of drawing. One of them is following your eyebrow and coming to full draw, and the other one is following your mustache and coming to the full draw.
Значи в турската стрелба общо взето има два вида на опъване. Едното е през веждата, дърпаш през веждата и сваляш на точката. Другото е през носа, отдолу дърпаш и качваш на точката.
Exactly. So why they use these two systems? We are also contemplating about that. Why they had these two different patterns. So
Ние също си задахме въпроса защо.
when you come via your eyebrow to the earlobe, then you protect yourself with the shield in this position. You knock the arrow like this. You're still protected by your shield. There is a shield here. And then you're still protected by your shield. And then following your eyebrow, you come here, shoot, and again close yourself. Because otherwise, this big movement can be picked up or detected by the enemy, even if you're shooting from a far distance. So when the enemy see you doing this movement, or in hunting, you're not only a target, but you're also seen. You spook the enemy and you spook the game as well when you're hunting. Because in the hunting position, an undetectable movement is a must. When you do this, any enemy will just jump to the earlobe. You are really undetectable. But like that, from a distance, the enemy cannot realize that you're trying to shoot.
Отдолу пък ако стреляш, всичко става скрито за защита, така че няма никаква видимост, не можеш да видиш противника.
Even from relatively closer distances, it makes sense because, for example, someone, Japanese fighter, draw the sword that way, not that way, because it can be avoided like that. They draw it like that because even in split seconds, it's harder to see, to realize that you started the movement. And even when the enemy starts to hold you, you can still go back and cut. So that's why this is very martial, and it makes sense that it had been used in the battlefield for that purpose, and this probably to be protected by the shield until the very time of release.
Също да, пример са самураите, нали, че те не си варят меча насам, а варят меча от тук. За да бъдат защитени, да не може да спре да си извадиш меча.
This is the way they do it, and this is that they avoid.
Не го правят назад, не го правят напред. Защото ако те натиснат тогава, ти можеш просто да се дръпнеш назад и пак да си извадиш меча.
So the draw patterns are two when you come to the earlobe. And the question is, the earlobe is the only anchor point that the Turkish treatises mention. The question should be answered as no. In the Safavid sources, Safavids are, by the way, Safavids is a dynasty that ruled Iran and was ended up by the Ottoman Sultan Selim.
Всъщност я прекъсват.
So in 1517, Sultan Selim had a campaign to Iran and defeated the Safavids.
Селин всъщност превзел се победи.
And the Safavid sources also say something about archery techniques.
И те имат източници за техниката на стрелба.
And they use Persian terms just because they ruled the Persian land and the official language of the palace was Persian.
Те са на персийски, защото там създадени, това е бил официалният език.
And in these scripts or treatises, they mention 5 different anchor points. One of them is Surmekesh,
В тия документи има 5 точки.
which is the eye level,
Сурмекеш е на нивото на окото.
and then Gushkesh, which is the earlobe level, that is known for the Ottoman archers.
Окото, като турската, като отоманската.
Borutkesh, which is the mustache level,
На мустака или на ниво на
Rishkesh, which is the beard level,
на брадичката.
and Sinekesh, which is the chest level. And yeah, but what important is here that all these draws should be on the same line vertically. I mean, if you imagine a line dropping down, following your earlobe, so even when you draw here, it's not short, but it's here. Güzgeç is on your earlobe anyway, and mustache here, here, here, here, always back. They didn't have that. Okay. These are two patterns. One of them is following the eyebrow, coming to the earlobe. And this is via the mustache coming to the earlobe. And different ankle levels other than the earlobe. Sormekeş. And sinekeş. So all the jaws should be on the same spot as for the vertical line coming through the eye. Maybe I should have said something about stance as well. In the earlier stages of the Turkish culture, it was about fighting on horseback, so they were on horseback and shot through any directions. But when you shot the ball on foot, there were stances. In Tirendaz, at the very early stages of the training, is not an authentic technique. We teach it because it's easier to bring the arrow to the very same draw length every time, just because the shoulders and the feet are on the same.
Когато краката са ти разтворени на широчината на раменете, това не е традиционна позиция.
But it's not authentic.
Не е автентична, но ние започваме да учим така, защото е най-лесно.
The closest among the authentic ones to this is this, which is called a battle stance.
Най-близко до това автентична позиция е ето тази, която се нарича позиция за битка.
Very similar to jiu-jitsu stance.
Много близка до jiu-jitsu позицията стабилна.
The other authentic stance is that, which is also used by Kranevo. This is also Middle Eastern, Turkish.
Другата е тази, която се използва също от корейците.
The other one is that. The tips of the feet showing inwards and the knees a little bit bent, like this. The other one is that.
Другата е с това перпендикулярно на предния крак.
And there are sitting positions. That.
We say Turkish also.
You see that? Okay, I was about to ask Janos because in Hungary they call it Turkish.
We say Turkish.
Yeah, this is very Turkish. So we don't say Turkish sitting in Turkey.
Just call it sitting.
So this is one of the things, and we call it melikler oturuş. So oturuş is sitting. Melikler means the sultans or the one who has the property, so king, whatever. Because it was the official sitting of the sultans, like the seiza sitting of Japanese. This is the official sitting position. That's why it's called melikler oturuş. And shooting from this position is also very clearly mentioned, but it's not mentioned. No, it's also mentioned. I think you can shoot that way or that way, both possible. This is quite difficult, but it's possible. So this is probably reading the old texts. In some texts, it's also called çengeli bars, not çengeli bar, çengeli bar. Çengel means hook. So because they were copying the hooks, the manuscripts, and maybe in the candlelight, and they're sleeping, or maybe too wide, or I don't know, less copy or whatever. Çengeli bars. But it also makes sense, like a hook. And why this group was used? This group was used for a specific purpose. I said that this is a weapon of war and hunting, so all these techniques were developed according to the needs of the warrior.
Тоест, окей, оръжие и цялата концепция се базира на това, така че тия техники са развивани всъщност, за да се усъвършенства лъка като оръжие за битка и за лов.
So using the ammunition of the enemy was a norm in old times because arrow was a very expensive ammunition, and this ammunition, if you're out of ammunition, you can simply pick up an arrow from the ground and shoot.
Да, това е било много важно, защото в битка стрелите са били скъпоневки и в един момент твоите стрели свършват, така че каквото си намериш на бойното поле, взимаш и го стреляш.
And what if the enemy's arrow is shorter than yours?
И ако на врага стрелите са по-къси от твоите, какво правим тогава?
It's a problem for you. And of course, you should shoot it with the longest draw possible so that the ball works, right? Otherwise, it's not a rifle. You have to need draw.
За да опънеш, да работи лъка, трябва да го опънеш.
Now I'm going to shoot with the arrow that has the regular length.
Сега стрелям с стрела с нормална за мен дължина.
Please note my grip, the regular grip that I showed you before.
Вижте какъв е захвата.
This was the better technique.
No, this one.
This was joking with the enemy.
Okay, note my grip. Now I just picked up a short grip. Now I switch to Çengibaz grip. Now you will see that the arrow will be drawn farther back.
Позволява всъщност да издърпа чак до върха.
Okay, it's possible to do. This is called iç kabzadan atış. İç kabzadan atış. Kabza is this, it's an Arabic word. Kabza. And iç kabza is that part, and dış kabza is that part. So you draw maybe an inch farther.
Дърпаме един инч повече, всъщност до тук.
Изстрел от вътрешната страна на дръжката. Изстрел от вътрешната страна.
Обикновено дърпаме на външната страна. А с тази техника ти позволява да дръпнеш до вътрешната страна, до максимум на ръба.
And this grip is also used to be able to draw broad-tipped and broad-headed arrows farther back. Because if it is tipped with a sharp broadhead, you cannot come farther back because of your index fingers. But if you do your Çengibaz grip, you can come an inch farther.
За бойни стрели, нали, които захват да използваш.
What if the arrow is there?
Обаче ако стрелата е толкова,
Well, this is an arrow that can be seen in Korean archery as well. They call it Pyeonjong. Pyeonjong. And the tube is called Tonga in Korean. And we call it Mejra with the Arabic term, or Nalek, it's the Persian term. And there are a few theories about how and by whom this device was invented.
знаете,
Bolts had knobs. They were not like the late European bolts, they had knobs. And we believe that Turk invented that to be able to shoot Chinese crossbow bolts back.
едната от теориите е, че в днешна Монголия, всъщност тогава е била туркска някаква династия, те се воювали с китайците. Китайците по това време са имали арбалети с къси стрели. И всъщност те са разработили това, за да могат да стрелят обратно стрелите на арбалетите, де са ги изстреляли по тях.
So if there's a limit
On the picture.
The winner, I think, done the something bow, much stronger than the 50 bow that most of the other guys used, and with Tonga, he won easily.
of course.
There's no way to win against the Tonga.
In flight shooting, there are a lot
This
of
is the
different
reason why Boyan forbidden the use of the Tonga for fly shooting.
In the next year.
Okay, let me tell you something. The most blurry parts in the Turkish archery culture is the flight shooting part. Unfortunately, because they always talk about hava, which is the air conditions, not only wind probably, but and the meydan günleri, which is in the month May and October, and the climate of meydan in Istanbul, the microclimate was special probably as for the air circulation or whatever. So that's why there are some unknown parts that we still did not figure out about that very microclimate of Istanbul where they shot this is over 800 meters. We would like to show you another overdraw device other than Mejra, which is Siper. square is more familiar to you, I think, because you might have seen that in flight archery competitions. In the
Супер е
Turkish,
другото устройство, което най-вероятно в флайт сте го виждали да се използва.
okay, this is like visual, but as I said, it's about optimization, not maximization. As you see, the arrow is not as short as the arrow. You see? Yeah. And here, the grip is again a Chengiz grip. And this Chengiz grip is a little bit modified, just a little bit. You have an inverted wrist, which may require some arm protection. But it is the Chengiz grip, so that modification. And the thumb ring is a little bit different too. You may, I don't know whether you use kulak on your thumb rings. I'll show you. Yes, the leather tongue.
Called it кулак. Това е
This is called kulak.
коженото капаче върху пръста.
Okay, when you're shooting for target, it's not necessary, if not wrong.
Ако стреляш по мишени, не е необходимо.
As you see, in my target thumb ring, I don't have any kulak, but this is versatile because when you're shooting regularly with a full-length arrow, you press the arrow slightly to the ball, which makes also the ring more comfortable. Because if you have this adduction, then the strength is more on the ring. When you don't do this, it is more on your skin.
Когато използваш пръстена и като дърпаш обикновено,
So always keep in mind that if you have to use a tongue in your target shooting, there's something wrong with your technique. So you have to work on this to avoid the wear on your skin.
значи трябва това движение е много важно, да нямаш наранявания по пръста. Ако се наранява кожата, значи нещо не го правиш правилно. Трябва да си настроиш захвата на пръстена към тетивата.
Anyone use the tongue?
It was just to protect my guitar nail.
Of course. This one is a replica of one of the examples in Topkapı Museum. I examined all of them, the Archaeological Museum as well as in Topkapı Museum and in the Military Museum. In the Military Museum there are only two, but in the artistic collection is a little bit richer. So this morphology is these kind of later rings that were probably used
With the leather on the outside also. So you put the string between the leather and the
Exactly. So let me show you.
Значи това е точна реплика на находка, която се намира в Топкапа в двореца. И всъщност тук е тетивата. The string is here, right?
So the string rests on the thumb ring's ledge anyway. It's called eşik in Turkish. But because you can't do that, it wears your thumb skin. So that's why you need it.
Да, понеже не можеш да направиш това завъртане, то ти наранява ти кожата.
So we
Това
don't have
всъщност
this problem because I don't have this problem because I use another style of ring, the
Yeah, I saw that.
Korean ring.
Korean type. Yes. So in order to maintain the Chengiz grip when using a heavy bow, because Chengiz grip is a little bit complex and requires a different motor method.
Ченгебас, кривото хващане,
And also
не е лесен и изисква мускулна памет.
Yes. And according to my experience, women do it easily, just because of the flexibility.
И жените го правят много по-лесно, базирано на неговия опит, може би заради, че са по-гъвкави в ръце.
But I put kepaze bow daily for 8 months to be able to hold 70-pound ball with no motion.
Го каза на мен ми отне няколко месеца за тази позиция да направя.
But when you're shooting a heavy ball, such a strip, it's made of linen and it's soaked into beeswax. It's called mushamba or mushamma. Today we call mushamba for the same thing. But mushamma is the old word, just a leather. Yeah. You have
Шаман.
and you see that the palm is supported with this wrapping so that the heavy ball will not collapse your wrist and you can maintain the high wrist position So the cigar will be aligned more or less with the arrow. See from the other side, or if you want, you can go to the other side. It's up to you.
How strong is the ball?
It's not for accuracy, but it's still accurate. Sometimes when we're practicing, we can sometimes miss the putt as well. It is very difficult to stabilize the arrow in the middle of the groove. So it is, as for the motor memory and the skill, it's different. The flight archery is really a new category which existed before the 17th century, but after the 17th century, when the firearms gained popularity in the battle, this kind of discipline became more common.
He asked what's the difference between the Seljuks and Mamelukes.
Okay, very good question, thank you. Okay, everything started in the 8th century, even 7th century, in the first encounter of Arabs with Arabs.
В 7-8 век започва всичко, в първите сблъсъци с арабите.
And also textically, I have great respect for him. Do not misunderstand me. He's a great technician, I mean, as a Kurd archer, but neither the Sasani draw nor his fast shooting technique are authentic. They are not. So some of them are made up. It is good actually to see the limits of the traditional bow, but if you really want to drive traditional archery, you have to be very careful not making up that much. So among these, as
His goal was to perfect different kind of techniques. To be able to shoot fast.
yes, and he's very honest, very smart, and he's confessing that, saying that it's my goal. For example, it's not the same to Kashani language. Kashani Lajos pretended that it's authentic. It's not, because I'm a strong believer that the ancestors of Magyar also shot with something. I'm almost sure. And more and more Hungarian scholars agree with that. Dr. Balázs Suda, for example, Dr. Turkish, they also advocate the use of thumbprint by the ancestors of Magyars. So we should be as evidence-based, let's say, if we have different sources. Okay, so please remember what we were talking about at the very beginning about knocking and how we can avoid the enemy to take our weapon from the hand. It's the same with the fast shooting techniques. There are techniques that you can shoot faster. I'm receiving some comments to my videos saying, you're too slow. This one is faster. Lars is faster. Lars is a good friend, by the way. He's a nice guy. He came to Istanbul. Pardon?
Lars Anderson.
Do I what? Yes, yes. He's a very interesting guy. He's very closed. He doesn't answer emails of people. And Lars is not a very good example. He's a trick shooter, but he's a very short guy. And the name can shoot, drawing so long, and that's why he can shoot through the holes, because the arrow doesn't oscillate.
Say that he shoots with socks, the strength of a sock.
Exactly. Exactly.
This is
So,
not really actually
but
shooting.
again, if they don't claim that they're doing something, but I put on Mikhail Kozmei's honesty is a great example.
Mikhail Kozmei is an archer.
Of course, but
My point of view is that Lars is a filmmaker, not an archer.
okay. By the way, he's an artist. Those are like your interesting target set. There's some sort of creativity. It's a sort of trick shot art, let's say. Okay, for example, there are techniques which involves holding the arrows like that. But like we spoke before, it's very easy to pick it up, even if it's not taken by wind. For example, my Hungarian friend Attila Kish from Chömer said on horseback it's very hard to use that. Even that, which you hold the arrows firmly on horseback because of the wind air drag, you cannot control them. So, of course, some of these techniques can be used on foot as well, not only on horseback. But you have to evaluate again whether they really work on the battlefield with no problem. And this also misses the cracked arrows. When you knock the arrow like that and shoot, and if there is any crack on the arrow, you can injure yourself. And the warrior should avoid any self-injuries just because the infection was a big problem at the time. Even a wound that is not considered to be very serious today was very serious.
Има различни техники. Единият пример е, че е много нестабилна. И първо си много достъпен за противника. И второто, че при тази техника
Taking a video when shooting fast, we caught that in the camera. When I do this, I realized that there was a crack on the arrow. And it was filmed coincidentally. And then,
той каза даже във видео, което са снимали такова, има такъв пример. Тръгвам да зареждам и виждам, че стрелата е спугана. Което е много, много важно. Нали? По този начин това зареждане и да се проверява стрелата на практика дали е цялата.
So people criticize that this is slow just because I'm rubbing this and it takes time.
Някой майстор казва, това е много бавно, ти не си бърз, защото това ти губи време. Да, ама в аспекта на битката, това е изключително важно. Стрелата да нарани тебе.
And when you hold it like that, it's much faster because you don't rub the whole shaft. It's maybe half a second in 3 hours, 1.5 seconds.
Yeah.
Two depictions from the Seljuk era. One of them is a ball tie, showing an archer holding 2 arrows in the hand like that, and one knocked.
Има документи от този период, които показват точно това. Две стрели в ръката и една отпред.
A ball tie and a coin. There are 2 depictions. And there's also a coin from 1st century showing an
Има
archer.
го на монета и друг документ.
The other one is that, which is described in the mandatory business. Holding the arrow like this. It is again considered slow for some, but it is very safe because you can feel the shot like here. And
Другата техника е нанина техниката.
arrow without holding the others in the hand, it's the same. I'm holding that firmly and it's exactly the same mechanics. So I can use stab it, I can avoid the enemy to take it from me, I can hit him and again knock the arrow and shoot him. So it's exactly the same mechanics. So you don't have this very loose, silly, uncontrollable hold of arrows. Here the point is you have always a 2-point contact again. And this is one of the techniques that we are teaching. And the other one is holding arrows like that and knocking from this position. This is the technique. And we are performing this on move or shooting at moving targets as well, which also hones our skill in shooting into the
Всичко това го правим стреляйки движение. Just said most probably the people will shorter, but
well, we don't know exactly, but there are some
I was about to ask you for the thumb rings in particular, like which they use the most, like the metal one, casted, I mean, like from bronze or something like this, horn, bone material, or if they had like a boiled, hardened leather.
Thank you very much. he is a part of the lecture anyway because he asked me the question and I requested him to ask that again. Thank you. We've been good friends.
It's harder.
Yes, and that's what I was about to say. This is a leather ring, and it's boiled and hardened. And this technology is quite old, prehistoric. So
Това е кожен пръстен, обаче е варен. Твърден. Защото той това казва, много хора използват мек пръстен, който само им пази кожата.
this one was just simply boiled, but the leather, how the leather was prepared, the tanned was important. So not, you know, the prepared leather, not that one, but this one. I don't know which one is. Neydi bu şimdi kullandığım mimar kız Seda kullanmıştı. If you can remember, in the last few centuries, ivory or similar materials were used. It may be also, for example, in the treatises, it's called Morse tusk. This Morse,
Моржовете.
polar
Слонова кост също има намерение.
because the Ottoman capital was a very important point as for the trade routes. So they got such very precious materials, very rare materials.
Редки материали. Да, роки са типично, но има и от...
And among the rings that I examined in Topkapı Palace Museum in Istanbul Archaeological Museum, there were some ivory ones. I know that because I'm a dentist, and it was a sort of tooth with incremental lines, some of which were even broken on their own. I mean, because of the time, and I could see the increments. So it's a sort of tooth, but what kind of tooth? Maybe the elephant tusk, ivory, or more tusk or whatever. Old shrink. Okay, very good question again. It's 2,700 BC from a Chinese tomb. The tomb belonged to a noble woman, maybe a princess or a queen or whatever, and it's that old. It's the third millennium, so 2,700, and bronze. Bronze ring, yes, it's that old. And together next to a war chariot, because at that time, because the horses were small, they were not, they could not ride on it. They just carried or pulled the war chariot with horses, 2 horses or sometimes 4 horses, and 1 or 2 drivers. Usually a driver and a manager, usually that combination. The women were engaged in that field. They are smarter and nervous, yes. I would like to say smarter, but they said nervous.
Жените са използвали бит, нали, разбрахте, защото са по-умни и по-нервни.
We have to calm down.
By killing someone.
Official therapy.
Just drink right.
Men are, they are doing
Men are like tigers, behaving like cats, and women the opposite, right? They look like cats but behave like tigers. Oh my God, I'm sorry. It doesn't make any sense because you can come to your...
Има стереотип, които стрелят отзад от коня, но това няма много смисъл, по-скоро е атрактивно.
Next to your heel when a predator is found at the back of the horse, or when you're just at the edge of a well or a cistern.
Ако си на ръба на кладеница и човека е там долу, затова се използва, не да си ефектен. А първо да пази, второ от парадокса на стрелата отива точно там, където ако отидеш право няма да бил. Ако си десняка стреля с левата ръка и обратно.
This is also what is discussed, whether you should according to your strong hand or according to your strong eye.
Как се казва, нали, да стреляш не с силната си ръка, а с силното око.
And in Tirendaz, we chose in our principle, in our methodology, we are choosing the strong eye. For example, Harun is a right-handed, I should be left-handed because his right eye is open. How we determine it, like that, like gentlemen saying, you form a little window here, extending your both arms with both eyes open. You can do that, like that. a very small hole and look through this window with both eyes open to something on the wall and bring it back to your face. Your left eye. It is about the technique of aiming. When you're intuitive shooting, and when you shoot when you shoot at moving targets, then you have to keep both eyes open. This is the only way to determine the three-dimensional location of the target in the space. When you close one of your eyes, whichever eye is one, you need an aiming system which works on two-dimensional. When you're using a rifle, for example, or a pistol, you can simply close one of your eyes and then you have a two-dimensional system. A rear side and the corner, and or front side. And you just put them together with the target, and you have just two planes. But if it comes something that is flying forward, coming here, flying that way, or when you're moving, then you have to keep both of your eyes open so that you can perceive the three-dimensional environment together with your position and with the target's position. So that's why we are advocating the use of the strong eyes and not the strong hands. But of course it's difficult, and the scientific data says that you cannot change which of your eyes is the strong one, but you can learn to use the weak hand. So, I'm a right-handed shooter, you realize, and I'm shooting left-handed now. This is also
Научните изследвания показват, че не може да се смениш окото. Силното око ти е силно, обаче може да се научи слабата. Едната ръка и другата ръка. И преди това, което каза, ако сте с пушка или с пистолет, ти е достатъчно да имаш двудименционална система. И същото.
When you're walking backwards like this and knocking the arrows from your hand. This is also the only way to perceive the distance between you and the target. If you have a two-dimensional aiming system, it doesn't make a difference just because you have some sort of elevation that you can adjust with sort of windage or whatever, like in the modern bows and the sighting systems.
Enough ventilation of the core.
When she started many years ago, maybe 6-7 years ago, she pierced a radiator. And it was very
Not in front of this guy.
No.
No question. Thank you.